All right, it is Tuesday, May 5th at 6:30 p.m. I'm calling our regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Gus, can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Gabbard,
Here.
Vice Chair Stein,
Here.
Commissioner Westcott,
Here.
Commissioner Snyder, Commissioner Mala,
Here.
and Advisory Hillian. Hillen.
All right, thank you. We don't have any members of the public online, do we? Okay. So moving on, minutes from April 7th. Has everyone reviewed those and any redactions or additions? Would anyone like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes?
We'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 7th.
I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, and passes. Thank you. Okay, on to staff updates. The proclamations.
Yeah, we just wanted to let the commission know that last week council did pass a proclamation declaring May as Historic Preservation Month. It is a national, kind of a national thing. So we just reinforce the commitment to supporting historic preservation for Clarkdale.
Great, and I know we had talked in the last meeting about sending you short bios and information on why we are interested in historic preservation. I'm guessing we need to send those.
Yes, if
right
you
away.
have not already, please do so, and we can start putting that on the website throughout the month.
Great.
How short is short, or what's everybody, have you done yours? Like
A
how?
couple sentences, small paragraph, that's fine. Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
have to be anything extraordinary, nothing super long, just as brief as you want to make it, or as long as you want to make it.
Brief is better. Thank you.
I believe mine was 5 sentences, no
Okay.
more than 7.
Okay, that was just give me an idea. Thank you. Because obviously I have not done mine yet. I'll get on that.
Okay, on to discussion items. The strategic plan. So we talked a little bit about that in our last meeting and decided that we would all come up with 1, 2, 3 things that are realistic and achievable goals that we could work on over the course of this year, from July of this year until July of next year.
Yes, hopefully everybody did their homework and came with some ideas. That's what we're looking for. Of course.
So I reflected, I reviewed my notes from, I believe I've only been with this commission 2 years. Sorry, it's a history question, so I don't remember how long I've been on this commission. But I reviewed my notes from our commission meetings over the past 2 years. And I reviewed our success and the time and responsibility of addressing goals and objectives. And I also contemplated our last meeting, and my suggestion for our strategic plan would be to focus on the steps to achieve the CLG, Certified Local Government, with the help of a hard copy or a draft of the application process. I would like to recommend that we break that down into our goals and objectives for the year and focus on one task, which would be to achieve a certified local government, it seems redundant, certified local government certification, as opposed to trying to address any other goals. Just have one and focus and give it our time and energy. And I believe with the help of, I don't know if they call it a certification application, I generally fall back and call things grant applications, but we could break it down into achievable an achievable calendar addressing each goal for the certification process at a time. Just a thought.
I agree with Commissioner Stein. I think that maybe we could take what Ariana Urban presented to us last time and break that down into the steps we need to complete in order to become a CLG.
So I think that that's definitely something to consider. I would recommend that we can put it on there and we can do it as you described, but I would also put additional things, because the thing with that is if we do move forward with it, and I got to get feedback from the town manager and council to make sure that that's the direction they want to go as well. But I don't believe it would be as much work as I think it may seem, because I think the longest part of that is a waiting game, as Ariana kind of described. We're going to be waiting for National Park Service to review it and get back to us. And in the meantime, it'd probably be beneficial to have additional goals to be working on while that's pending. That would be my suggestion.
Well, it sounds like Ariana was saying that we really need to take a look at the historic preservation ordinance and rewrite it. And that's kind of a big project in and of itself.
It is, but if we need to make sure that council has that desire to do that, given, I guess, the controversy that I've been told surrounding that ordinance itself. So we'll have to see if they're willing and wanting to move that direction, but we can put it on the list.
Okay, I also had CLG status steps. Was what I wrote down as first on my list, because it does sound like that's something we should continue to work towards. The other thing that I have on my list is continuing to work on the monument signs, the work that's been started. And in my mind, and I know we kind of have gotten bogged down in the, like, how do we pay for it? And do we need to know if we have money before we put all this work into making this plan? But I believe that the monument signs and that project is a long-term project that needs to be in place to go to the council and say, here's our project, and get their approval to get funding. You can't go get approval on a project really until they see what that project is. And you certainly can't go get funding and money on those monument signs until you've got a plan in place. And I feel like we should put all the effort into, or great effort into designing those, getting the verbiage that we want on the pictures and the wordage that we want on them, moving the placement of the ones that we want to move, like have the whole plan. And if it sits for 3 to 5 years, that's not unusual in local government, that those projects get worked up and then they sit until somebody can come up with the right funding source to go out and do them. But you can't go get the funding source until you've got a complete project on the shelf to go get financing for. So I would like to see us continue with the work that's been started on those monument signs and take it to a finished product that we can say, we have done all this work. This is what it is. And even 3 years from now, it's going to be so much better and more current and more modern than what's out there right now.
From a staff perspective, I would agree with that. I think you explained it perfectly and what needs to happen before we can get money for it. And I'll also tell you, if we start this now, we put that kind of item on the strategic plan and start working on it for the next 6, 7, 8 months. Back in March, I came across some potential grants that we could look at applying for to help pay for that. Those wouldn't be available until early next spring. And so that timing could be perfect for that if we have that set like you just described. And then we could potentially go after those grants to finance it.
Would it be possible for you to share that out with us? Like what are what do we need to apply for those grants? Like, what would we need to gather up between now and when the
Yeah,
application?
yeah, we can
period
look into that, see if that information is available. And unfortunately, by the time I came across them, reason I didn't really bring anything to the commission is because when I did come across them, the due date for them was the next week. And so there was nothing that we could do at that point in time. But it is something that we definitely have to look forward to next year.
One of the things that I had on my list was to try to improve our outreach. So that could include having, we had talked about having a table for the 4th of July, but we could also maybe focus on some other events that are downtown that we could tack onto and have a table at. That also would include reaching out. I think we've reached out to the tribe already, but trying to get some tribal representatives in a meeting or two, as well as reach out to Cottonwoods Historic Preservation Commission as well, and maybe have some joint meetings to see what they've been doing and if there are opportunities for us to work with them as well.
I would just add that echo what everybody has said. I had CLG parts processes, if we could identify components there that we could work on. Certainly something with the historical markers that has a reasonable timeline attached. Maybe what Scott just said would suggest about a year out, maybe a little less. But I like the idea of having a plan, even if it's broad, as to what they may look like, what they might include, some real general information about what the text might be on several, if not all of them. Something I think we could do in 8 or 10 months' time.
Has there ever been, when you guys were working on this before, like a comprehensive package of all the signs of what's on them, what the actual materials are? Have you guys seen that or? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's been compiled.
It's been compiled, and there were numerous work sessions concerning the historic markers, and there was not necessarily a consensus, but a list of topics as to how each sign would be fashioned, if you will, or what topics we would cover.
On each
So there
location.
was a tremendous amount of organization and research provided
Okay.
to the town.
We will follow up on that then.
So in light of what's just come forward in our discussion, I think it would behoove us if we had the application processes and documentation for the grants you just mentioned that could assist with the creation of our historic markers, number one. And number two, the application information for the CLG.
We can compile that.
Because if there are grant opportunities for the historic markers, as we're doing the work to meet the goal and to complete this project, we should be addressing or fashioning our application or our materials towards the application process, not scrambling to redo. So it would be better to have that formula or that foundation ahead of us before we continue on with any more work.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. We can look at getting all of that and get it sent to you ahead of the next meeting. Any other topics? I just keep in mind that, we do want to hopefully get this strategic plan in place, to work on for the next year. But if things need to change, we can always revisit it. It's not okay, this is it. And, we're stuck. If we have to bring it back and reevaluate it, something's not working, or you want to add something to it, that can always be an option as well.
Commissioner Hillen, anything wanted to share?
On First Friday, for the museum, I did a panel over at the auditorium, and it was on historic restoration. I geared it to be a little bit more generalized, but I did bring up that people can look to the commission for resources. I want people in this community, whether they're business or residential, to feel comfortable coming to us for resources that can help preserve their structures. I think that I could probably sit down, and I've been kind of piecing this together with the Historic Society and Museum, piece together some kind of a list that we could provide to people when they move into the community, when they open a business here, when things change hands, and when people start projects, have something available so that we can give that to them, some sort of like a list of like, this is what your home used to look like. This is kind of the to the period sort of ways you can do things, lists of people who are experts in plumbing, electrical, structural work on these old homes. I do also agree that prioritizing the CLG would be beneficial. I was wondering, actually, does anybody know if we are in the process with the CLG and we get to maybe a certain point, if we have the opportunity to get more grants for things like the monument signs, does that open more doors for us?
So with the CLG, we are eligible for a state level grant. Well, I say state level, technically comes from the federal, but it's passed through from the state. Those grants cannot be used for like physical construction work, so it would not cover anything with the monument signs.
Another thing regarding the signs, I know you guys said you've already done quite a bit of work on that. So I would hate to see that kind of fall into a back seat any more than it already has. If that's something that, you know, we can prioritize in the downtime when we're waiting for things with the CLG. And I mean, it would take, obviously, somebody would have to sit down and map that time frame out and manage that time into work sessions and things like that. I think that would be beneficial.
Do we have the, is it possible for us to post things or links on Clarkdale's website, like links to best practices for historic preservation or technical briefs or things like that?
Yeah, I think we could look into how we can accomplish that. Have a historic preservation page that can accommodate that.
I think for some of that, it would be pretty easy to just post the links, and then that would point people in, at least in one direction, to get information on how to proceed with things like, you know, renovations or restorations.
Yeah, we can look into that one. So what I have right now then is the CLG status and the steps, continue working on the monument signs, expand outreach, create a list for new owners of businesses or homes, and then put links on the website. Anything else? Start with that.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a pretty good list, actually. And strategic planning, strategic goals don't mean you accomplish all of them in 1 year. It just means they're out there that we want to get them accomplished, right? Yeah.
Okay. We can put all this together, make it become a, you know, official strategic plan, and bring it back to the commission. You can look it over. You know, we'll add stuff. It won't just be super short, simple list, but we'll put in, you know, the things that that you guys want to accomplish. A little bit more detail, bring it back to you. And if you're satisfied with it, we can move it forward. Okay.
Okay, on to the gazebo bandstand sign. So in our packets, we have the edited language. There was a lot cut out of it, which is not a bad thing for sure. But any thoughts on what's there?
I have 4 points of form, not content. In the second paragraph, the last line reads, in 1919, during a strong copper market, the structure was rebuilt at a cost of $353.19, establishing the foundation of the gazebo/bandstand seen today. In the interest of parallel structure, we don't mention dollar amounts in the following taxonomy: 1960 to 73, 204, 211, and 2024. So I would recommend, or I would suggest simply removing at a cost of $353.19. So it would read, in 1919, during a strong copper market, the structure was rebuilt, establishing the foundation of the gazebo bandstand seen today. So since we don't mention the cost anywhere else, just removing that. In the interest of parallel structure, the first bullet point, 1960 to 1973, extensive lighting, roofing, repainting, and structural repairs enhanced its use and appearance. Following that structure, 2004, major rehabilitations transpired, preserving some elements while extending the structure's life. So removing took place and replacing it with a past tense verb. 2011, additional repairs performed, including a new floor and stairs to support continued public use. So just creating parallel structure. And my last point is this: we have 4 bullet points in bold that begin with dates: 1960 to 73, 2004, 2011, 2024. And then we have this little sentence hanging on at the end that begins, in 2025, these improvements were recognized with the Governor's Heritage Preservation Honor Award. I would recommend not making that the last sentence of a bullet point, but giving it its own bullet point. So in bold, 2025, these improvements were recognized. The previous improvements were recognized. Just give 2025 its own bullet point and put it in bold. And it's just a suggestion. And finally, I don't understand outstanding achievement in preserving Arizona's historic built environment. The award itself does not read achievement in preserving Arizona's historic built environment. I can't remember what the original language is on the award, and I'm wondering where that phrase came from, historic built environment. Do you know where that came from? Is it? Okay. It's a ship.
Would y'all mind using your microphone? I'm having trouble hearing
I'm sorry.
speakers.
Yeah, I just said it's a pretty typical term for historic preservation and architecture.
Thank you. It's just not what reads on the award statement. That's where I was wondering where it came from.
Amy, I'm sorry. Did after converting that last sentence to the 5th bullet, did you have then a summary statement? Because I didn't see that as a final bullet, but I like the idea but I was thinking of just pulling it out from the bullet point and using it as a sort of a final statement. So maybe my suggestion would be to those rearrangements you had, and then, some sort of conclusion after the last bullet.
There is a last statement that's a beautifully written conclusion. For more than a century, the gazebo/bandstand has been the setting for concerts, weddings, holiday celebrations, and everyday moments. From summer music to the 4th of July gatherings and winter lights, it continues to serve as a symbol of Clarkdale's shared history and community spirit. So there is a concluding statement there after the 2025 point.
Got it. I had something in between the 2 pages.
Oh, okay. I think this is a wonderful rewrite, and my 4 comments were just concerning parallel structure.
Yeah. I also just wondered whether the photos that were included were just a thought. Would those be in the actual plaque? If not, if we could add a couple of codes, a couple of links to either the additional historical information that was on the original plaque or to some historical photos leading up to the modern images. So those could just be linked to from the shortened document.
It seems like we'll have a lot of space on the plaque itself to put photos. I mean, we have a quarter of the text or less now.
Sure.
I recently toured some locations in the valley that have plaques in front of their historic buildings. And I know this is a silly little statement, but the less is more. I walked away from several of them bored and exhausted from trying to read the extensive text. And I think this rewrite and the bullet points is wonderful. And as far as any kind of illustrations, whether they're illustrations of its renovation or restoration or a historic photograph, I think the text of the plaque is great and is a grand improvement and will be easier for people to read. I don't know if it's still used, but there used to be an expression in putting together museum exhibitions called visual exhaustion. And I noticed a great deal of that when I was looking over other plaques in other towns around the valley. So I think it's wonderful.
I definitely agree. We took a trip recently to Fredericksburg, Texas. I'm not sure if anybody's, yeah. Incredible historic town. And it was nice because as you walk through all the different areas, the downtown, the park, the library, you see the signs long before you get to them because they're consistent. They are all the bronze plaques. The information is bullet pointed. The dates are bullet pointed. There's consistency in the statements. Each one reads like it follows the last. And it was actually very interesting and very easy to stop and get as much information as possible before moving on to the next exhibit that they had.
And I agree with less is more. That came up when we were working on our monument signs too, like just keep it simple for those, and then opportunities for people to go look for more if they're those history nerds that want to know more stuff, we can give them more stuff, but don't put it on the sign. I like what Amy said. I agree with it. Other than I do like the $353.19 just because it is just comical to think about that. And granted, it's over 100 years ago, but I like the dollar amount in there for perspective. But that's my 2 cents.
You evoked the evil history nerd phrase, and those nerds are going to want to know what the equivalent is today.
So, as far as history nerds, one thing that might be nice to add to this sign is the fact that the bandstand was originally built on railroad ties. And that might clarify what the foundation means. So That might be a good thing to add, actually. And $300 was a lot of money 100 years ago.
Which you could almost in that same paragraph say, which would be the equivalent of whatever dollars in today's dollars. I don't know. Just a thought.
They're all of our contributions are wonderful and valid. My only comment was, for the sake of consistency and parallel structure, we're not talking about the cost in any of the other years. And I think what's brilliant about this rewrite is that it's not getting down in the weeds. And there's a lot of weeds with 100 years of renovation and restoration and movement. So I thought it was great. And if everyone feels strongly about $353.19, stick with that.
And I'm okay. I just wanted to put my 2 cents out there. I will not be upset if it's not in there.
It was $353.19 that you were putting out there.
Just one small change for the 2024 bullet point. Restoration and renovation should actually be rehabilitation.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Matt?
To swap out restoration and renovation under the 2024 bullet point with rehabilitation.
Oh, right. Good point.
Any other changes? Are we still up in the air about the $353?
One other thing I thought of is in that paragraph in 2024, while preserving its historic character, talking about durable materials and including cedar. I don't know if that's essential to know, but just the fact that it was rehabilitated while preserving its historic character and incorporating modern day standards. And you might want to mention that allowed the bandstand to remain on the National Register as a historic structure.
So it sounds like the recommended changes are pretty minimal. But Scott, can we do another round in the next meeting, or is that the best way to do it?
Yeah, we can incorporate these changes, bring it back, and have you guys take action on it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else about the bandstand gazebo? Okay, future agenda items. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to put on the list for next meeting?
In our previous meeting, we discussed our participation, perhaps personing a booth in the park for the 4th of July. I get many email messages from Cheryl Kessel asking about volunteering on the 4th of July. And so just if we could discuss whether or not we will have our own booth at the park on the 4th of July, it would allow me to respond to Cheryl appropriately as to whether or not I'm able to volunteer someplace else or not, just to know if we're committed or not.
Yeah, we can bring those details at the next meeting. That's what we were hoping to do anyways. See what that looks like, make a game plan for who can be there, who wants to be there, and what that looks like.
So the Clarkdale Historic Society, the museum, did not have a board meeting this month, but I did run it by the board via email, and there is some interest in either combining a table at the 4th of July with the commission or having adjacent tables. And there's also an offer from one of the board members for a canopy because we have a separate one. So I think the next board meeting next month, I'll be able to talk to them more about it and then bring it back to the commission.
Any other future agenda items? Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes, meeting adjourned. Thank you.